this is the big one. The Sony showcase that's supposed to remind you, hey, aren't you glad you have a PlayStation?
Yeah, I don't think I'm glad that I own a PlayStation 5 because you know why? The best games on the PS5 happen to be Xbox games. See, what I find so funny about this showcase is the fact that you're talking about games that we already knew about. Bloodborne remaster and probably this new God of War Saga collection. Hopefully, if they do remake the new God of War, please do not make it in the same fashion as you did these garbage reboots. Just give us a whole remastered collection. I'll pay $60, $70 for it and I'll be happy, man. But if you're trying to take the original formula and I guess, quote unquote, give it that modernized feel, well, then guess what? I don't want that garbage.
Now, I want to talk about this because most of the rumblings, in my opinion, are pretty safe bets. It's going to be a mix of first party.
Sony got to play it safe because you know why? Because if they do any gambles, they're going to go bankrupt. They can't afford to have any more $400 million failures.
We're going to see stuff like, I don't know, a Days Gone remaster or something like that.
Days Gone remastered? Are you serious, bro? What is the point of a PS5 if you're telling me that the best games on it is Xbox titles and games that came out on the PS4 generation? How about a Days Gone 2 sequel?
Death Stranding 2, Metal Gear Solid Delta, but...
Metal Gear Solid Delta is a multiplat.
The leaks I want to talk about in this video are two that are... I feel like they'll break the internet. There was talks about a full-blown remake of the original God of War and a Bloodborne remaster.
They're gonna ruin the original Kratos, man. Please don't tell me you making that game in the same fashion as you did with all these other ones, man. I'm telling you, man, if they do, just keep it the same, Sony. Please, just keep the same 5 games and just keep them entirely the same. Remaster them, put them on modern hardware, and that's it. That's all you gotta do, man. Do not touch that collection of games. And we're talking about Bloodborne remaster. Are you serious, bro? You guys want people to go out there and pick up a PS5 for these quote-unquote exclusives, and these are the same games that you can play on your PS4.
For real this time, but...
Oh, for real?
Let's take a look at the evidence. I hope you're having a great day. This is going to be extra different. The last year, in my opinion, has been a lot of bad news for PlayStation. I mean, think about the headline.
Oh, yeah, we know that. I mean, but at least the good news that we got going on is that y'all getting some Xbox games.
It's involving Sony. PlayStation Network going down, Concord being a complete dumpster fire. I mean, stuff like Astrobot's been positive, but...
How about you talk about the fact that Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake are also going to be inevitably dropping on Xbox? But I forgot. That goes against your whole narrative of your whole narrative as to why people pick up a PS5 in the first place. I'm trying to tell you guys, exclusives don't matter.
A lot of Sony news, it's been either mixed or boring, right? So it's nice the fact that people are finally hearing the fact that it sounds like Sony has been actually really trying their hardest to bring back...
Oh, Sony's trying their hardest by, putting out a Days Gone remaster, a Bloodborne remaster, and remaking a game that came out on the PS2 in 2005. Yeah, that really shows you that Sony's working hard for their community, huh, shouting. Bro, I mean, at this point, bro, what is the point of the PS5, bro? I'm not even a fan of Bloodborne. The only thing that I really care about is this God of War, and hopefully it's just a remastered collection of 1, 2... Well, they already did 3. Chain of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. That's all they got to do, bro. Just give me a compilation of these games on the PS5 and I'll be happy. But if you're going to sit there and remake the first game and you're going to do a huge disservice to it with this modern reboot garbage, you can have it.
People want the most. Now, this project, apparently the leak is...
I thought he was going to Egypt.
The specific quote is, they said... I've heard that people that are currently in charge of God of War are working on a younger Kratos. Charge of God of War are working on a younger Kratos going back to Greece.
I thought he was going to Egypt.
Now, a lot of PlayStation fans call this the Greek saga because it wasn't just a trilogy, it was a whole set of games. Prequels, weird in-between games, Ghost of Sparta, all that. But
those are not weird in-between games. Those have everything to do with the story. What are you talking about, bruh? Those games play into the story. What do you mean in-between game?
everybody except me definitely loves a lot of the old God of War games.
You just said... Don't y'all remember him saying, oh, I don't like the old God of War games in favor of the new ones? Just for him to go back and say, oh, I like the old ones. Hold on, let's hear that again.
It was a whole set of games. Prequels, weird in-between games, Goes to Sparta, all that. But everybody except me definitely loves a lot of the old God of War games.
Oh,
now,
okay. I had to hear it. Okay, you saved yourself there. Okay.
Said this on record multiple times. I don't really like the older God of War stuff. I feel like I played them with the wrong mindset. I played each of them as they came out, and I'll be honest, I feel like my problem was that I bought a PlayStation 2 to play Final Fantasy and like racing games like...
Oh, racing games like Gran Turismo, right?
Need for Speed Underground 2.
Well, there you go. Third party like everybody else. You know, the same games that you could buy on another platform. You see, he already exposed it to you, man. Most people that picked up a PlayStation console picked it up for third party. Thank you for answering that question. I really thought you was going to sit there and say, I picked it up for Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter. You know, I picked up the PS2 for games like Jet Li, Rise of Honor, and God of War. Oh, no. I picked it up for third party like everybody else did.
So, for whatever reason, playing a game where I'm pressing circle to rip off a gargantuan giant's head and stuff like that, it was cool, but it never really wowed me as much as the rest of the audience.
Because it didn't have a good story.
Kind of curious to see, even if it does just turn out to be these 5 games being remastered, remasters now are getting much more intense. It's not just, hey, we've spruced up the resolution or stuff like that.
I mean, that's exactly what it's going to be.
Remasters these days.
And what's even more funny, I'm already playing these games 4K 60 on my Xbox Series X.
It does feel like they added complete new graphics. They restore cut content. They do an extra director's commentary and stuff.
I mean, maybe some games that they do from Night Dive Studios, but I have never seen a lot of theirs are cut and dry. I mean, God of War 3 was kind of a cut and dry remastered game. And what's even more funny about that, how come they didn't make that game 4K? How come they couldn't just update it like how... If it was an Xbox game, that would be running 4K 120 right now on the Xbox Series X. Why hasn't Sony done it? Oh, that's right. They want to sell you it in the God of War Greek Saga collection.
I've seen so many remasters that, in my opinion,
and I'm
basically are remakes. But we know for a fact that part of what makes
I mean, if it ain't a third-person perspective like the reboot, then you can't even call it a remake. But if it's entirely the same, the way I want it to be, then yes, it's a remaster.
Project so peculiar is that we know that it's not being done by Sony Santa Monica. Now, the person that made the last 2 God of War games, Sony Santa Monica, these are, of course,
put that trash down.
God of War 2018, God of War Ragnarok, but they have said they're working on something completely new. In fact, even leakers and stuff have been talking about the fact that there are 2, I don't know, the potential of that character. I feel like there's so much extra they could explore, so much extra gore and carnage. I feel like it would be cool to see. Personally, I do want to see how they would change the combat.
You just want to see it in a modern take. I mean, what do you mean change the combat? Because if they do, all they're going to do is take God of War Ragnarok's combat and put it within the God of War 2005 universe. That's all more likely Sony would do for the remake, considering that those games are still very popular. Now, mind you, I'm not going to be the one to buy it because I personally don't like the reboot's gameplay. I think it's redundant.
Change stuff, maybe not make it like obviously slow, methodical God of War 2018. That's practically like Dark Souls.
That's more likely what they will do if they remake it.
That's what a lot of people say. I'm not saying that. A lot of people say that slow, methodical combat to them felt like Dark Souls. But the other remaster I want to talk about is a bunch of people are talking about a struck. Now, I'm going to be copium and say this is a good thing.
It's a good thing that somebody got struck down in the community, man. I find it so funny that every time people are working on ambitious projects, now these companies want to sit there and be like, you know what? Let's finally give these dudes the remaster that they want. Let's put 60 FPS even on a game they could have already done already through the PS4 version. Ain't that the reason why you people picked up the Pro and just to find out that Bloodborne still runs at 30 FPS? I mean, come on, man. Sony don't even have to make a new game. They could just patch the existing one and put a 60 FPS mode on it. That is it. Really? Is this what to be impressed about? A game that you've already played on the PS4? Like, come on, man. Like this is why I can't get excited for Sony no more, man. PlayStation 5 is the king of remasters and remakes, man. And I'm tired of it.
It's like, yeah, I'm sad that
I know
people.
what people are saying, but you looking forward to that God of War Saga collection, though. I get it, but that's just because I'm a fan of those games. I mean, $60 for 5 games of that nature with the 4K and the benefits. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me. But if you're sitting there telling me that you're doing these full-on remasters and remakes, one game, essentially, $60, $70 for a God of War game with the same story and the same gameplay as God of War Ragnarok, I'm not going to be feeling it. That's the difference.
Can't see my mod anymore, but I'm much more happy about the fact that it does seem like Sony wants to have things like Bloodborne 60 FPS and Bloodborne Remake.
Oh, really? If Sony wanted Bloodborne 60 FPS, they could have patched the existing game, and they chose not to.
They want those to be the top 30. The original creators of it have essentially kind of hinted at the fact that they didn't want to touch Bloodborne until they could fully approach it again, do it completely.
Oh, here we go with the excuses, bro. No, they're doing it like this because they want to stall the inevitable because PlayStation don't have anything for you to play. That's what you people don't understand. You got Sony stretching out remasters and remakes as if they're new games just because they know you guys have nothing. This game should have already been out already. I don't care what anybody. It's coming. It's most definitely coming. But at the same time, to the point where y'all delaying it because you know you have nothing for 2025 and probably 2026 that you have to delay a remaster or a remake to give your fans something to play, even though they've already played it 10 years ago on the PS4 already? Come on, man.
I always kind of took us in saying they'd rather do Bloodborne 2 than a Bloodborne remaster, which is fine. But I think at this point, this would be hype. Even stuff like the fact that they recently put.
I'm not paying $60 for a full-on remake, man. I'm good, bro. I didn't even care for the previous game, and I'm more likely not going to care for this one either.
That trailer, they did like a welcome to PlayStation trailer, and they put in a clip of Bloodborne in that trailer, which is weird because the game came out 10 years ago. I am super curious about the state of play in general, but specifically these two games. But what do you guys think about it? Are you excited about
a game from over 10 years ago and a remake that came out in 2005? Yeah, I think the only thing I'm picking up is that God of War Saga collection, honestly, because like I said, I own it on PS3. I wouldn't mind owning it again on PS5. I'm not going to sit there and lie. I guess I'm showing some of my bias. But hey, you're getting a total of 5 games all in one package. Can we really complain? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, probably 6, including if they include Ascension. Hey, man, that to me sounds like a good deal. That sounds like $10 each game, and those are classics. So I in 4K, whatever, 60 FPS, 120, I'm all for that because I can see the value in that package. But if you're sitting there telling me, oh, they're going to remake the God of War 1 from 2005 with a similar, they might even change things, you know how they do in this modern era, and then have the same gameplay as the reboot series, then I'm not buying it. I don't care because 1, I don't see the value in, and 2, God of War Ragnarok and God of War Reboot suck. I'm sorry, man. Those games is boring.
Future of PlayStation, and how do you feel about a Bloodborne remaster and a God of War remake? Tell me your thoughts.
I'm not feeling a Bloodborne remaster because I feel like the remaster could be just Sony, updating the existing game with 4K and 60 frames per second. I don't think Sony needs to sell you a whole game to do that. I'm going to be honest with you. And in regards to the God of War remake, I guess there's more, I guess they'll run it on a different engine or whatever have you. But then at the same time, man, it's just like, really, what about it? Are they going to remake all the other God of Wars? Are they trying to do a Resident Evil? Is that what they're trying to do? God of War, but Resident Evil style? Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake, God of War 1 remake, God of War 2 remake. Come on, man. All because they want to just stretch the longevity of the PS5 because they don't want to give you gamers what you really want, which is the finishing closure of God of War Ragnarok, bro. This is like stretching the longevity of your console way longer than it's supposed to. They're going to continue to do this with remasters and remakes, man. And only the smart PlayStation gamer is going to wake up and say, you know what? The only new games and new IPs that we're getting is from Xbox, Indiana Jones, and stuff of that nature. You know what I'm saying? We're getting more new games from Xbox than we're getting from our own company, which is Sony. And they're just doing remasters. Man, I'm sorry, bro. At the end of the day, man, PlayStation just really don't know what's going on, man. They're just trying to take these quote unquote safe approaches because they are afraid to lose money on their games. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video, man. And like I said, the only thing I'm looking forward to is that God of War Saga collection because I can clearly see the value in that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Take care.